Laurel. I'm going to be your OTA today. I'm going to take a few measurements on your shoulder just to test your range of motion and see where you're at, okay?
Okay.
All right. So for this first test, I'm going to have you raise your arm all the way up to the ceiling, okay?
Okay.
Ready? All right, you have 168 and active, and I'm gonna push you a little bit, okay?
Okay.
All right, and you're about at 175 right now.
All right.
All right, and now we're gonna do hyperextension. So I'm gonna have you reach behind you. All right, it looks like you're about at 25. And now I'm gonna do the same thing and push you. All right, and you're about at 45 degrees in passive. Do another test, and I'm gonna have you, when I tell you to, I'm gonna have you raise your shoulder or your hand to the ceiling from the side, okay?
Okay.
All right. All right, go ahead. All right, and actively you're about at 180, and I'm gonna push you again.
Okay.
So you go to about 185 in passive range of motion. Got a few more tests on you, and we're gonna work on horizontal shoulder abduction and horizontal shoulder adduction.
Okay.
So the first one we're gonna work on is horizontal shoulder abduction, and I'm gonna have you have your shoulder at 90 degrees of shoulder abduction. So what I'm gonna have you do is just reach your arm back as far as you can, okay?
Okay.
All right, go ahead. All right, and you have about 35 degrees of shoulder, a horizontal shoulder abduction range of motion. So I'm gonna do it again and put you into passive, okay?
Okay.
All right, and you have about 50 degrees of passive range of motion.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna do the same thing, but I'm gonna have you bring your arm across your body. All right, go ahead. All right, and you have about 130 degrees of horizontal shoulder adduction, active range of motion. And then I'm gonna push you passively again, okay?
Okay.
All right, and you have about 135 of passive range of motion. All right, Bailey, for this one, I'm gonna have your shoulder at 90 degrees of shoulder abduction, and then your elbows can be flexed at 90 degrees as well. So what we're gonna do for this one is I'm gonna have you put your hand up like this as far as you can. All right. All right, so you have 85 degrees of active range of motion, and I'm gonna put you into passive. All right, so you have about a few more degrees, so about 87 degrees of passive. All right, and so we're gonna do the same thing, and I'm gonna have you go like this and go as far as you can, okay? But we're gonna start in gravity neutral first. Okay, so we're gonna go down. All right, so you have about 75 degrees of active range of motion, so I'm just gonna push you into a little bit of passive, okay? All right, so you have about 85 degrees of passive range of motion. All right, good job. And you're gonna go in like this, okay? So yeah, we'll have you turn around. All right, so I want you to just bring your arm into your body as far as you can, okay? All right, and you have about 90 degrees of internal rotation. Was that right? We're gonna do this one more time, but we're gonna do external, okay? So I'm gonna have you just bring out your arm as far as you can this way. Keep your shoulder to your side, okay? Or your arm to your side. All right, go ahead. Sorry. All right, so you have about 60 degrees of active range of motion, and I'm gonna put you into passive range of motion, okay? All right, so you have about 80 degrees of passive range of motion.